The sales representative, a man named Alex, was initially bewildered. "You want a fleet of delivery drones? For your house?" he asked, his voice laced with skepticism. "That's right," I replied, trying to sound as confident as possible. "I need them to be reliable, efficient, and capable of bypassing certain obstacles." "Obstacles?" he asked. "Let's just say I have a challenging delivery environment," I said vaguely. Alex chuckled. "Okay," he said. "You've piqued my interest. Let's see what we can do." It began with a sense of mild annoyance, a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. I'd been eagerly awaiting a new book, a biography of a famous inventor I'd pre-ordered weeks ago. The tracking information said it had been delivered, but it was nowhere to be found. I checked with my neighbors, searched behind bushes, even looked in the recycling bin, but the package was gone. Then it happened again. A replacement charger for my laptop, urgently needed for a work project, vanished without a trace. The delivery confirmation said left at front door, but my front door was stubbornly package-free. And then, the final straw. The piece de resistance of my disappearing deliveries. A limited edition rubber chicken I'd bought on a whim from a late-night infomercial. It was supposed to be a gag gift for a friend, but now it seemed destined to become a symbol of my growing frustration. It started with a new book I'd ordered, then a replacement charger for my laptop. Then the pièce de résistance, a limited edition rubber chicken I'd bought on a whim. My packages were vanishing, disappearing into the suburban ether. I suspected porch pirates, those modern-day buccaneers of online shopping, I thought, as I scoured my porch for the third time, hoping against hope that the rubber chicken had somehow materialized. It hadn't. Little did I know the real culprit was much closer to home, and far more obsessed with rules than with loot. I just hadn't put the pieces together yet. The suburbs, I was quickly learning, held darker secrets than I'd ever imagined. Before the mystery of the missing packages consumed my every thought, I had a run-in with the head of the HOA. I'd only lived in the neighborhood for a few weeks. It wasn't about anything important in the grand scheme of things. It was bins. Apparently, putting them out the night before collection day instead of on collection day was against the rules. The enforcer of this bizarre rule was one Margaret Marge Thompson. Margaret Marge Thompson. The nickname was a cruel irony. There was nothing remotely Marge about her. She was a tightly wound, perfectly coiffed, clipboard-wielding tyrant who ruled our neighborhood with an iron fist and an unwavering belief in the power of beige. She was the self-proclaimed guardian of suburban order, the queen of conformity, and, unfortunately for me, the president of the Oak Gardens HOA. She was dressed in a pastel pink tracksuit, her blonde hair sprayed into a helmet-like structure that defied both gravity and good taste. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice a thin, reedy rasp. "I see this is your first offense. Consider this a warning." She scribbled on her clipboard. "Next time there will be a fine." I just stared. I'd encountered HOAs before, but this one seemed supercharged somehow. Driven by a combination of frustration, suspicion, and a deep-seated need to know what had happened to my rubber chicken, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I installed a security camera, a discreet little device disguised as a doorbell that would record any activity on my front porch. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe a stray cat, a curious squirrel, or perhaps even a glimpse of the neighborhood teenagers playing ding-dong ditch. What I saw, however, shocked me to my core. The camera footage, played back on my laptop, revealed the truth. It wasn't a porch pirate, a delivery driver, or a mischievous animal that was responsible for my missing packages. It was Marge Thompson. There she was, in all her pastel-clad glory, marching up to my porch with the determined air of a general leading her troops into battle. She'd eye the package, her expression a mixture of disdain and righteous indignation. Then, with a swift, practiced motion, she'd snatch the package, tuck it under her arm, and march away, her clipboard clutched tightly in her hand. She did it with a speed and efficiency that suggested this wasn't her first rodeo. She was a seasoned package snatcher, a suburban kleptomaniac operating under the guise of HOA authority. My internal reaction was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and then a slow-burning anger. This couldn't be real. Was the HOA president stealing my packages? In broad daylight? Under the pretense of enforcing... what? Some imaginary rule about cluttered porches? I thought. It was absurd. It was outrageous. It was infuriating. I watched the footage again and again, each viewing fueling my growing sense of indignation. This wasn't just about missing packages anymore. It was about principle. It was about justice. It was about exposing Marge Thompson for the petty tyrant she was. Armed with the irrefutable evidence of Marge's package pilfering, I marched into the next HOA meeting with the confidence of a lawyer presenting a slam-dunk case. The room, filled with the usual assortment of beige-clad busybodies, fell silent as I approached the podium. "I have something to share with the board," I announced, my voice ringing with righteous indignation. I connected my laptop to the projector, and the image of Marge Thompson, caught red-handed in the act of stealing my package, filled the screen. Gasps of shock and murmurs of disbelief rippled through the room. Marge, seated at the head table, went pale. "Marge," I said, turning to face her, "why are my packages disappearing?" She sputtered. She stammered. She tried to deny it, but the video evidence was undeniable. I was simply enforcing HOA guidelines, she finally managed to choke out, her voice trembling. "We're ensuring that all deliveries meet community standards." "What HOA guidelines?" I challenged, my voice rising. "There's nothing in the bylaws about confiscating packages. You're stealing, Marge, plain and simple." "We have new guidelines," she declared, puffing out her chest, pulling a sheet of paper from her ever-present clipboard. "Ones that I have just this moment implemented, to prevent cluttered porches and unnecessary deliveries." She slammed the paper down on the table. "It's for the good of the community." I stared at her, speechless. The sheer audacity, the blatant disregard for logic and decency was astounding. She'd made up a rule, on the spot, to justify her own criminal behavior. "You can't just make up rules, Marge," I said, my voice laced with sarcasm. "And you certainly can't steal my packages. I want them back. All of them." "They'll be held at the HOA office," she retorted, her voice regaining some of its former sharpness, "until you obtain proper approval for their contents." I knew then that this wasn't just about packages anymore. This was about power. It was about control. It was about Marge Thompson's unwavering belief in her own authority, her right to dictate every aspect of our lives, down to the smallest, most insignificant detail. And I wasn't going to stand for it. "Marge Thompson, you want to play delivery dictator? Game on! Prepare to be drone-struck," I declared internally, a new plan, bold and wonderfully ridiculous, beginning to take shape in my mind. It was time to escalate. It was time to fight back. It was time to unleash the full force of my aerial revenge. My plan to bypass Marge Thompson's package-snatching tyranny required a deep dive into the world of drone technology and delivery services. I needed to know if my idea, as audacious as it was actually feasible. And more importantly, I needed to make sure it was legal. I spent hours online, researching different types of drones, their capabilities, their limitations, and the regulations governing their use. I learned about payload capacity, flight range, battery life, and the intricacies of FAA regulations. I discovered that drone delivery, while still relatively new, was rapidly becoming a viable option for many businesses, and that there were several companies offering custom drone delivery solutions. My browser history went from porch pirate solutions to drone delivery regulations and maximum payload capacity for consumer drones in record time. I chuckled as I navigated the surprisingly complex landscape of drone technology. I also, of course, consulted the dreaded HOA bylaws, searching for any clause, any phrase, any vaguely worded regulation that might prohibit my plan. And to my delight, and Marge's future dismay, I found nothing. There were rules about unauthorized vehicles on the streets, about unsightly structures in yards, and even about noise pollution levels. But there was absolutely nothing about drones. The HOA, in their obsession with controlling every aspect of ground-level life, had completely overlooked the possibility of an aerial assault. They'd left the skies wide open, and I was about to exploit that oversight in the most spectacular way possible. With my research complete and my legal bases covered, it was time to acquire my fleet. I wasn't going to settle for some cheap, off-the-shelf drone. I needed high-end, professional-grade machines, capable of carrying various package sizes and weights, and equipped with the latest GPS technology and safety features. I contacted a company that specialized in custom drone solutions for businesses, explaining my situation, carefully omitting the HOA revenge aspect, and outlining my requirements. The sales representative, a man named Alex, was initially bewildered. "You want a fleet of delivery drones for your house?" he asked, his voice laced with skepticism. "That's right," I replied, trying to sound as confident as possible. "I need them to be reliable, efficient, and capable of bypassing certain obstacles." "Obstacles?" he asked. "Let's just say I have a challenging delivery environment," I said vaguely. Alex chuckled. "Okay," he said. "You've piqued my interest. Let's see what we can do." We settled on a fleet of 5 drones, 3 smaller models for everyday packages, and 2 heavy-duty drones capable of carrying larger, heavier items. They were sleek, black, and surprisingly intimidating, with multiple rotors, high-definition cameras, and advanced obstacle avoidance systems. They looked like something out of a science fiction movie, a far cry from the flimsy plastic drones I'd seen at the local electronics store. The delivery day was, predictably, a spectacle. A large truck, emblazoned with the drone company's logo, arrived at my house, unloading a series of large wooden crates. The delivery driver, a young woman with a look of utter confusion on her face, stared at the crates, then at me, then back at the crates. "You ordered drones?" she asked hesitantly. "A lot of drones?" "That's right," I said with a grin. "It's for a project." The neighbors, of course, were watching. They gathered on their lawns, whispering to each other, pointing and staring. Mrs. Higgins, armed with her trusty binoculars, maintained her usual post at the window, no doubt taking detailed notes for her next complaint to the HOA. Even Marge Thompson, I noticed, was peering through her curtains, her face a mask of suspicion and growing alarm. With my drone fleet delivered, it was time to transform my backyard into a fully operational drone delivery hub. This was not a task for the faint of heart. It required planning, precision, and a healthy disregard for conventional suburban landscaping. First, I installed a landing pad, a large circular platform made of reinforced concrete, positioned strategically in the center of my yard. It was painted with a bright white H, for Henderson, of course, not helicopter, and equipped with LED lights for nighttime landings. Next, I set up a series of charging stations, each one capable of rapidly recharging the drone's batteries. I ran power cables, installed safety barriers, and generally created an environment that looked more like a NASA control center than a suburban backyard. I also designated a small shed, not the shed, thankfully spared from HOA wrath for now, as my control center, equipping it with a computer, multiple monitors, and a sophisticated drone management software system. I upgraded my phone with a specialized app, allowing me to track the drone's progress, monitor their battery levels, and even control their flight paths remotely. The overall effect was impressive. It was high-tech, it was futuristic, and it was utterly out of place in the quiet, tree-lined streets of Oak Gardens. My backyard, once a simple patch of grass, was now a buzzing hub of aerial activity, a testament to the power of technology and the enduring appeal of petty revenge. It was a drone pilot's dream, and a HOA president's worst nightmare. With my drone delivery system fully operational, it was time for the inaugural flight. I'd placed a small test order online, a replacement rubber chicken, naturally, and I was eagerly awaiting its arrival. I stood on my back porch, my phone in hand, tracking the drone's progress on the app. I could see its little icon moving across the map, approaching my house, bypassing the streets, the sidewalks, and most importantly, the HOA-controlled front porch. And then I heard it. A faint, high-pitched whine, growing steadily louder. The drone, a sleek black machine with 4 rapidly spinning rotors, appeared over the trees, hovering momentarily before descending gracefully onto the landing pad in my backyard. It deposited its cargo, a small, carefully wrapped package, and then, with a whir of its rotors, ascended back into the sky, disappearing over the rooftops. The entire process had taken less than 2 minutes. It was seamless, efficient, and utterly satisfying. And, of course, Marge Thompson had witnessed the entire thing. She had been standing on her porch, watering her perfectly compliant petunias, when the drone had appeared. Her reaction was predictable. She dropped her watering can, her jaw dropped, her eyes widened in a mixture of horror and disbelief. "What is this?" she shrieked, her voice reaching a pitch that could shatter glass, and probably set off car alarms. She stormed towards my house, her sensible shoes clicking furiously on the pavement, her face a mask of apoplectic rage. You're using drones? For deliveries?" I emerged from my control center, a picture of calm, unruffled composure. "Good afternoon, Marge," I said, my voice dripping with feigned politeness. "I see you've noticed my new delivery system. What do you think? I call it Air Henderson." It's illegal," she sputtered, her face now a shade of purple that I'd previously only seen on overripe eggplants. "You can't just fly drones over the neighborhood. It's a violation." "Actually, Marge," I corrected her gently, "I've checked the regulations. There's nothing in the HOA bylaws that prohibits drone deliveries. Just says no unauthorized deliveries on the ground. And this," I gestured towards the landing pad, "is very much not on the ground." I paused for effect, then looked at her and helpfully inquired, "Did you receive my latest letter?" Watching Marge's face contort with fury was more satisfying than any on-time delivery could ever be, I thought, struggling to suppress a laugh. She was practically vibrating with indignation, her perfectly coiffed hair threatening to come undone. It was a performance for the ages, a meltdown of epic proportions. And it was all thanks to a little bit of technology, a healthy dose of pettiness, and the glorious, liberating power of drone delivery. Marge Thompson, fueled by a potent mixture of outrage and desperation, called an emergency HOA meeting. Her goal? To ban drone deliveries, to crush my aerial rebellion, and to restore order, and presumably beige conformity, to Sunridge Estates. The meeting, held in the same beige-walled community center room, which I suspected was the source of Marge's unwavering commitment to blandness, was a scene of utter chaos. Residents, normally subdued and compliant, were buzzing with a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and a growing sense of, "What fresh hell is this?" Marge, looking increasingly frantic and disheveled, stood at the podium clutching a hastily prepared stack of papers. This drone situation," she began, her voice trembling with a mixture of rage and exhaustion, "is a threat to our community. It's unprecedented. It's un-American." She launched into a rambling, incoherent tirade, denouncing drones as menaces to society, instruments of chaos, and a clear and present danger to the peace and quiet of Sunridge Estates. "Drones are a menace," she declared, her voice rising to a shriek. "They create noise pollution. They invade our privacy. They could drop a package on someone." She seemed particularly concerned about the possibility of falling packages, as if my drones were engaged in some kind of aerial bombardment campaign. She went on to cite obscure, and mostly irrelevant, FAA regulations, misinterpret noise ordinances, and generally paint a picture of my drone delivery system as a dystopian nightmare, a technological terror that threatened to destroy the very fabric of suburban life. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar, for best dramatic overreaction perhaps, a masterclass in HOA-fueled hysteria, but unlike previous meetings, her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The residents of Sunridge Estates, it turned out, were not as afraid of drones as Marge had hoped. Just as Marge was reaching a fever pitch of anti-drone rhetoric, I decided to play my trump card. I stood up, cleared my throat, and said in a calm, confident voice, "Actually, Marge, I have an announcement to make." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me, including Marge's, which were narrowed in a mixture of suspicion and dread. "I've been in discussions with a major drone delivery service," I announced, "and they've agreed to partner with me to offer their services to the entire neighborhood." A wave of murmurs and whispers swept through the room. Marge looked like she'd just been struck by lightning. I went on to explain the benefits of drone delivery: faster delivery times, reduced traffic congestion, lower carbon emissions, and most importantly, a complete bypass of the HOA's increasingly irrelevant authority over ground-based deliveries. "Imagine," I said with a smile, "no more waiting around for delivery trucks, no more missed packages, no more cluttered porches." I emphasized the last phrase, knowing how much it would irritate Marge. I presented a slick, professionally designed brochure, courtesy of the drone delivery company, outlining the service, the pricing, which surprisingly was cheaper than traditional delivery, and the safety features. I even offered a live demonstration, using one of my drones to deliver a small package, containing a rubber chicken, naturally, to a volunteer in the audience. The reaction was overwhelmingly positive. The neighbors, initially skeptical, were quickly won over by the convenience, the efficiency, and the sheer novelty of drone delivery. They saw the potential, the possibilities, the chance to escape the clutches of Marge Thompson and her package-snatching tyranny. Even some of Marge's most loyal followers seemed intrigued, their fear of drones outweighed by their desire for faster, cheaper, and more reliable deliveries. Marge, realizing that she was losing control of the situation, made one final, desperate move. She called the city, hoping to find some obscure ordinance, some forgotten regulation, some legal loophole that would allow her to ban drone deliveries within Sunridge Estates. She complained about noise pollution, about safety hazards, about the disruptive impact on the neighborhood's aesthetic. She even, I later learned, tried to claim that my drones were interfering with bird migration patterns, a claim that was quickly debunked by a local ornithologist. But it was no use. The city officials, far from being alarmed by my drone delivery system, were actually impressed. They saw it as an innovative solution to the growing problem of urban congestion, a potential model for future delivery systems, and a way to reduce carbon emissions and improve efficiency. They not only refused to ban the drones, they actually praised my initiative, offering to partner with me on a pilot program to test the feasibility of expanding drone delivery to other parts of the city. They even suggested designating my backyard as an official drone test site, a proposal that I politely and gleefully accepted. Marge's attempt to use the city as a weapon against me had backfired spectacularly. She'd inadvertently turned my backyard into a hub of technological innovation, a symbol of progress, and a giant, buzzing middle finger to her outdated, anti-drone agenda. The HOA meeting, which had started with Marge in control, ended with her complete and utter defeat. Even her most loyal followers, the ones who'd previously supported her every move, were now distancing themselves from her, realizing that her anti-drone crusade was a lost cause. She tried to rally support, to convince the other HOA members that drones were a threat to their way of life. But her arguments were met with silence, with shrugs, and with a growing sense of, "We're done with this." One by one, her fellow board members started signing up for the drone delivery service, eager to experience the convenience and efficiency of aerial package delivery. Even Mr. Henderson, the HOA's long-suffering lawyer, admitted that he was intrigued by the technology, and that he'd always wanted to see a drone deliver a pizza. Marge was isolated, outnumbered, and utterly humiliated. Her power, once absolute, was now gone, replaced by a wave of pro-drone sentiment that she couldn't control. She'd become a pariah, a cautionary tale, a symbol of the HOA's outdated and increasingly irrelevant authority. The final blow came when a group of teenagers, inspired by my example, started building their own, smaller, less sophisticated drones and flying them around the neighborhood. They even, to my amusement, started offering their own drone delivery service, transporting snacks and drinks between houses, turning the once quiet streets of Sunridge Estates into a buzzing hive of aerial activity. Marge, watching this unfold from her window, could only shake her head in disbelief. Her carefully constructed world of beige conformity, of ground-based deliveries, and of HOA-approved everything had been shattered, replaced by a chaotic, drone-filled future that she couldn't comprehend, let alone control. The downfall of Margaret Marge Thompson, the self-proclaimed queen of package control, the terror of cluttered porches, was swift and decisive. After the disastrous HOA meeting, the city's endorsement of my drone delivery system, and the undeniable popularity of aerial package retrieval, she finally cracked. She resigned from the HOA, her letter of resignation a masterpiece of passive-aggressive self-pity, blaming everyone but herself for her defeat. She claimed she was the victim of a technological conspiracy, a neighborhood-wide rebellion against common sense, and a general decline in standards of decency and good taste. Nobody bought it. Her departure was met with a collective sigh of relief, followed by a drone-delivered pizza party in my backyard, a celebration of freedom from HOA tyranny, and a toast to the future of package delivery. Marge, I heard through the neighborhood grapevine, sold her house at a significant loss, thanks to the drone-related noise and activity, and moved to a remote cabin in the woods, presumably to live a life free from technology, innovation, and any form of neighborly interaction. With Marge gone and the HOA effectively neutralized, drone deliveries became the norm in Oak Gardens. My backyard, once a battleground in the war against package theft, was now a bustling hub of aerial activity, a testament to the power of technology and the enduring appeal of petty revenge. The drone delivery service, initially a small-scale operation, expanded rapidly, attracting new customers and partnering with local businesses. People loved the convenience, the speed, and the sheer novelty of having their packages delivered by drone. My backyard landing pad, once a source of controversy, became an official test site for the city's drone program. Engineers and city planners would visit, observing the drones in action, taking notes, and generally marveling at the efficiency and effectiveness of the system. The neighborhood, once known for its beige conformity and its tyrannical HOA, was now becoming known as the drone delivery capital of state, a place where technology and suburban living coexisted in a surprisingly harmonious and occasionally hilarious way. It was a transformation I never could have predicted, a victory beyond my wildest dreams, and a constant source of amusement. The story of my drone delivery system and my epic battle with the HOA didn't stay confined to Oak Gardens. It went viral, spreading across social media like wildfire, attracting attention from news outlets, tech blogs, and even a few television producers. I was interviewed by local newspapers, featured on regional news programs, and even invited to speak at a tech conference about the future of drone delivery. I became, for a brief, shining moment, a minor internet celebrity known as the Drone Defender, the Package Protector, and the HOA Avenger. The online comments were a goldmine of amusement. "This is the most epic HOA takedown I've ever seen," one user wrote. "Give this man a medal," declared another. "I want drone delivery in my neighborhood," a third commented. The story even inspired a few copycats, with reports of other homeowners across the country experimenting with drone delivery systems, much to the chagrin of their own HOAs. I'd inadvertently sparked a revolution, a nationwide movement of drone-powered defiance, and it was all thanks to Marge Thompson and her obsession with controlling package deliveries. With the departure of Marge, the HOA was a shadow of its former self. No longer would meetings be dominated by complaints about minor issues. People were happy. The new president was voted in, and his first action? To send every household a survey on how to improve the community. And so, I remained, the unlikely ruler of my drone-powered kingdom, the accidental pioneer of suburban aerial delivery. My backyard, once a source of conflict, was now a symbol of victory, a testament to the power of innovation, and a constant reminder of the sweet taste of revenge. It was a warm summer evening. I was sitting on my porch, watching a drone gracefully land on the pad in my backyard, delivering a package, a new set of extra durable rubber chickens, naturally. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful, and filled with the gentle hum of drone rotors. A new neighbor, a young couple who'd just moved in down the street, walked by. "Excuse me," the woman said. "We're new to the neighborhood. We were just wondering, what's the deal with all the drones?" I smiled. "It's a long story," I said, "but the short version is I had a disagreement with the HOA about some packages." They laughed, intrigued. "Well," the man said, "it's certainly unique." "It is," I agreed, "it is. Who knew that a few stolen packages and a burning desire for revenge could lead to all this? I guess sometimes you just got to embrace the future of delivery to find your peace," I thought, as I watched the drone take off, soaring into the evening sky. I raised my imaginary glass in a silent toast. To the drone delivery system of Oak Gardens. May it forever soar above the petty tyranny of HOAs, and a warning to all future package-snatching busybodies.